нам нужно здесь поменять стаканы.
Итак, давайте начинать, уважаемые участники. Вот здесь есть свободные стулья.
Let us start, dear participants. We have 3 chairs here. Please sit down here. Please do not stand alone in this position. There is no truth in our legs because our today's topic is of paramount importance. It is called Finance for Business. What are the sources of financing? It is of paramount importance.
Ну что,
Well, dear colleagues, I'm happy to welcome you. You were not last. We are kind of a family company who have arrived here. And we also have some new members. We welcome them. We have additional participants of the International Business Week. And today we have a crucial topic. Although, according to the previous voting, business is now at the branch, the bifurcated branch. It is a decision-making turning point. We know that development is needed. We know that we have opportunities for that, but as for decision-making, some other factors are to be considered. For instance, the sources of funding, the objects of funding, are we sure that it will be paid back? Are we sure that the business will be functional, and that's why we'll be able to give back the loans and earn the profit? This external uncertainty is present, and it forces us to be in such a challenging situation for decision-making. But most entrepreneurs vote for development. They're in favor of development. They realize that this forward movement, this progress, will be an integral part of our activity. Secondly, we have external challenges. We face them, and I enjoyed our previous discussion. And even a fundamental problem of a shortage of manpower may be solved via cutting-edge technologies and transformation. In fact, we have been discussing this topic for a long time because we have no sources of manpower. It won't be possible to bear many kids, to give birth to many kids, and we won't be able to transport them from the adjacent countries. We have undergone several stages. We transported many people from Ukraine in the beginning of 2000s. Then they left us. Their life standard was improved. People from Tajikistan were also transported. The residents of Tajikistan covered lots of niches where the Russians were reluctant to work. Now the situation is ever-changing due to the external market patterns. They either leave us or they have requests for higher salaries, and we aren't able to provide for them, and our entrepreneurs cannot provide for them. We have passed this stage. When the workforce from Uzbekistan has come, we have new emerging manpower, but regrettably they face severe problems. And another significant challenge is the following one. In the past, they spoke Russian while arriving here. This generation was raised during the Soviet Union, and when they come to our place now, they do not understand the Russian speech at all. And we are in a totally different situation. It is becoming crystal clear that we have to focus on our domestic resources, which are limited. Whether we like it or not, we will optimize the resources. We will implement all the new ways, methods, techniques, and technologies, and no business will survive without this process in the near future. It won't develop under these conditions, and that is why we are committed to making that happen. It means that in any case, even if we are not planning to upscale, to scale up new markets and to enter new markets, we set the task of technological revamp and labor productivity. Whether we're eager to listen to it or not, we thought that this would not apply to us, but now it applies to each and every kind of business, because these challenges we are coming across, with which we are coming across, and they are truly considerable. We all need money, we need funds. There is the issue of the amount of availability and the terms on which we will receive them. That is why we tried to invite the speakers to our discussion who actually realize. Could you please give me a mic, because it's hard to sit this way while being in this offline position. We have invited people who have get it from the horse's mouth. That they told me that I'm a cordial moderator because I welcomed everyone during the previous session. But now I'm going to switch to the next mode, because we will use a rational and prudent approach. We need particular steps, instructions, briefing, and algorithms of actions in the scope of what we have to implement. Hanjan Nasruddin says that as many stories we talk about halva, it won't be that sweet. As many trillions as we distribute, we distribute many trillions, and we have to understand that whichever many trillions we distribute, it will not be that enough, sufficient. Let me introduce our speakers. Igor Alexeyevich Kalinov is the Managing Director of Small and Micro Business, Sberbank PGJSC. Ildar Safin is also our speaker. He's from Swiss Bank. He is the Deputy of the Regional Director in Ufa. Marcel Vilievich Kashaev is our next speaker, who is the head of the Agency of the Republic of Bashkortostan for Small and Medium Business Development. And we also have Anver Robertovich Karimov. He's the director of the Industry Development Fund of the Republic of Bashkortostan. When we sifted through the speakers, it was truly important for them, because we know that they have funds. Our objective is to take these funds, and your objective is to tell us how it may be implemented in practical terms. Let us flick through several slides. I would like to signify the turning point, the starting point of our discussion. This presentation has been shown. Unfortunately, I cannot switch to the next slide. Perhaps I'm not pressing on the right button, but still. Oh, it's functional. Well, how should I do it? Where is the magic wand? Could you please do it once again? Thank you. Where is the magic technique which will enable me to switch to the next slides? Let us do it once again. Okay. Sometimes we have technical intermittences. This does happen. It cannot keep up with our breakthroughs. We are going to do it as quickly as we can, but still we slow down. Actually, I can tell you about it without using images, but this presentation is alluring and beautiful, and I'm eager to show it to you because this work has been done. We had a family business training yesterday, and we know that we may master only 10% of information by hearing, and when we can see it by eyes, we may master 50% of information. This efficacy grows, and if we do something manually, for instance, we take a loan and pass through the entire way, our expert level rises up to 80%. And that is why in this context we are going to switch to more tangible organs. Let me start. Let us assess the SME credit portfolio. It is $8.7 trillion. It is an extreme sum for me. It's fantastic if we are aware of it. If we divide it by 6 million of our legal entities, we understand that 50% of enterprises do not take loans. This business has lots of funds available in terms of the loan portfolio, but it is only 19% of the total credit portfolio of all the businesses. But we don't have to compete to all of them, but still these figures enable us to pool funds in the business. Otherwise, we'll not climb out of this condition when 92% of businesses are part of micro businesses, and the average headcount of our business is 2.6, not just 3. It is fewer than 3 persons. The company are to be nurtured and fostered so that they could reach the higher level. Approximately 8% of the loans belong to the entrepreneurs.
And we understand that, unfortunately, there's no progress in that. And what is the interest rate, average interest rate? 10, approximately 10%, and 9.5% for people who get loan for more than a year. Why this rate? Well, it is overall. Unfortunately, we know that some loans are 13, 14, and 15 even, and even 17%. And our entrepreneurs get those loans, and it's really difficult, and they're really dependent, and they work for others, not for themselves. So the amount of people that were refused in loans is quite high as well. So a lot of entrepreneurs are refused to get loans. And another, so the mobilization also affected a lot of different enterprises, Russian enterprises, and it also affects the perspectives of business in Russia. An average, the average debt is also quite high, around 40%. 40% of enterprises have problems with debts, and it differs from one bank to another bank. So I guess that our colleagues from Sberbank will tell us. So this is the amount that we will describe later. Now it is really important for us to understand how should we go on. Now I feel like you should have your phones and then vote. And I would ask you to... So now we should understand what kind of sums we're talking about and what should we get in the end. Now, so you have instructions of how to vote. So please use the QR code. Are there anyone who has got no instruction? So some people do not have instructions, so please give them those instructions. So you should accept conditions. Name yourself as well. So, so can you please give people instructions? So the code 00394615. And also please accept. Push the button that says accept.
Так, а на экране у нас вообще ничего не будет?
So will we have something on the screen?
Все запущено. Вот она, цифровая экономика.
Oh, so, okay, so we will use our fingers to show you everything. So, yeah, and the voting is done now. So what kind of sum do you want to have
5,
to somehow
30, 50, свыше 50 миллионов. Поставьте нам галочку. Еще раз. Многие могут сказать, да я...
Many of you may state that you are reluctant to take any funds of others and that you're reluctant to arrive, to name a few. That is why we have formulated this question. We do not ask which loan you take, we ask you how much funds do you need for further development, because these programs vary nowadays. And let us now specify these figures. Please estimate the funds you need for development up to 5 millions, 5 to 10 millions, 10 to 30 millions, 30 to 5 millions, or over 50 million rubles.
Да.
Well, okay,
Не успели.
we haven't done it on time. Okay, should we do it once again? We finalized voting. We had many people who voted. Okay,
Но вот смотрите.
look,
Давайте так. Тенденции.
there is a trend. These trends are present, they are rooted. We've demonstrated that on the screen. Most of you,
Мне с вашим телефоном те цифры.
as for those figures, I cannot distinguish them even while wearing glasses. Thus, let me
Свыше 50 миллионов.
name them. As each third person voted for over 30 million rubles, as for 20 to 30 millions, it was voted by each by 20%, and 30 to 50 millions account for each fourth person. And on the principle, we have the appropriate people with good purchasing power. Our audience realizes how many funds are needed, and you have the following requests. Frankly speaking, when we discussed this voting, I believe that the major figures will be up to 5 million rubles, and most of you will vote for it. But this highlights the maturity of our audience. You have far-reaching development plans. What you need is money. I'm going to arrange our discussion the following way. Let us start with the mass audience, the ones who are eager to obtain over 50 million rubles. Who is ready to suggest these funds and what should be done for obtaining them on beneficial terms? Is Sberbank ready to do it? Yes, we are ready. Yes, they are ready to do it. Please, in which direction should we move? Actually, it is a pleasure for me to fund the companies, to finance the companies which operate in the commerce. Actually, we start dealing with the companies which have been functioning for 3 months or 6 months when it comes to services. But let me emphasize that Sberbank has a backlog of financing programs for working capital, of investment capital. What should be done? It's hard to distinguish them. Now let me highlight that 10% of people voted for the following item, preferential funding. And I would like to accentuate that over the past 4 years, the number of preferential programs has increased by a factor of 5, and as of 2022, Sberbank has granted 55,000 loans worth 638 billions. I'm a Sberbank customer. What do I need? I need a loan and I need an office. You may enter our website. We have it. There is no opportunity to show a direct link to the QR, but we demonstrated it to you last time, and I'll make messaging that's a constructor of preferential programs, and there are approximately 12 of them on the operation at the federal level, and there are some regional programs as well. Be it the Ministry of Industry, the Ministry of Economic Development, the Ministry of Numbers, of Digital Numbers, Ministry of Agriculture, we have a backlog of preferential programs, and as for the rate of from 1 to 5%, it is common. For instance, the Ministry of Agriculture has is presented by us. There are producers of agricultural goods, and they use this preferential rate up to 5%. And how can we stipulate it? How can we identify it? It is that simple, because you should know your taxpayer identification number. Plus, insert it, type it in your program, and you'll get access to all the programs particularly for your enterprise. If you are a Sberbank customer, you may seamlessly enter the internet bank Sberbank Business online and issue application for a particular kind of financing. I have a following question. Is any one of the people who are present here, has any one of you tried to harness this program? Why don't you manage to do it? Please stand up and tell us loudly. We are an IT company. As soon as we start selecting these preferential loan credits, but we select them in terms of accreditation, but it's hard. The sums are from 300 to 500 millions. And that is why these figures are not attainable. You mean that you lack the turnover as the rates are too high? We realize that these interest rates are only provided by particular agencies. So you surmise that preferential loans are designated for mature companies, and others do not have access to them. But there is also an advantage. When we decided to get the loan, since we are 60+ years old, we got a reconciliation for sending it in the corresponding department. It was all hustle and bustle, and still we were rejected. Yes, the age factor is also important. You mean 60+ by the age according to our terms? We may provide them up to people who are under 70 for paying the loan, the outstanding loan. So you were eager to get it for 5 years. Yes, 3 months. So it's also Sberbank. The following question. There's a following question. Has anyone received preferential loans at a preferential rate at Sberbank? For instance, for refinancing rate, according to the 46th federal law, we got it in May. When the funding was preferential, it was 15%. The interest rate was preferential, so you were compelled to take it, and it is conspicuous. The interest rate was 15%, given the state support, the state governmental support. It was not about governmental support. And according to the governmental support, what is the figure? This occurred in May. It is now 1664, and the interest rate is 8.85%. Why do you have this 15% interest rate? Sberbank obtained this loan in May.
So I also can tell you that after 2 months, they wrote us a letter that the government program ended, and now you will have an interest rate of 21%, and that you have to sign a document that you restructurize your loan, and that even though we spoiled our credit history, we didn't sign it, and then Sberbank told us that we have only our preferential rate of 15%, And now I ask you a question. And can I refinance it now
Можно ли?
Давайте сейчас
by 5%, for example? Well, it depends on individual conditions, and you can enter Sberbank Business online, and you can look for the programs that you can use, that you can apply for. We did that, but they told us that we can look for a new loan, but we cannot change our old loan. Well, it's business. Who will give you an interest rate of 8.5%?
взяли у нас деньги.
Because you took an interest rate of 15%. So that's why we're looking for a new bank that will give us an interest rate of 5%, because we want to repay the loan in Sberbank. Well, you should be careful with Alpha Bank because the stories are quite complicated there. So let us discuss examples. Well, the service is really great. You put your insurance number there and you get the loan. This is a good program. Well, sometimes an interest rate of 8.5% transfers to 15%. How did it happen?
Не страховать. То есть
Well,
есть какие-то многие факторы,
there are lots of factors.
под 8,5 вообще не предлагали.
So they didn't offer you an interest rate of 8.5%. And has anyone got this offer of 8.5%? No, they didn't.
Значит, вот здесь у меня тогда мы сейчас дискуссию, да?
So we will have a discussion now.
Да? Вот
So does Promptbank give an interest rate of 8.5%? So I would like to comment on that topic, and I will support my colleague. And I guess that, yeah, they got us. Talking about 15%. So you said that you got this loan in May. So we don't remember what interest rate was in May. So you should understand. I should understand that if oranges cost 10 rubles, a bank cannot sell it for 8 rubles. So you should carefully read this government program. And if the interest rate is quite big, it is subsidized. So your rate depends on. So now the situation is different. The rate is normalized. The program 1664 exists now, and now the interest rate is 7.5%.
Да, ну 10,5 получается. Вот
Well, so can you give our listeners a professional advice? What should businesses do?
первый, которым пошли
So the first variant that they followed, they went to another bank and they want to have another loan.
правильно понимаем. Какие еще шаги
So what kind of steps can they take?
помогайте?
Дело в том, что
So if you
у нас
read the programs carefully, we have a lot of programs, and well, even bank workers, it's really complicated to understand them. And you should go to a specialist,
предприниматели, где можно
or you can go for a consultation. But really often it happens that one program,
можно
Akvedo cannot sometimes,
программы в другую программу поддержки не
well, you cannot change your own program into another program, and you should look for a way to lower your interest rate. So talking about 15%. So now the interest rate in the market on the market is 10%, and it's the loan for a year or so. So now one variant is that you should talk to your bank and change the interest rate, or you should look for another program. If you do not know the details, it would be really difficult to know what's the truth. So
точно всегда подходит в как
a program. So a company can find a program
поддержки малого бизнеса всегда
in different banks. So at least one bank. So I have a question.
And there is an agency on SME development. Can an entrepreneur come to your place and tell you, distinguished agency, please tell me how should I do it, where should I do it, which program may I utilize, where may I take funds? What is the function of the agency? How is it formulated? Thank you. Good afternoon, dear participants. As for the very beginning of the event, we were asked to answer all the questions. We have a prudent approach to it. What particularly should we do? I have a life hack consisting of two actions. The first one is taking the phone, and the second one, following the hotline, calling the hotline. There is so this will be the first step, which will enable us to rectify the current situation in terms of the work of landed funds. Is it a federal number? It's the number of the Republic of Bashkortostan. It's My Business Center is a federal project, and it is represented in each and every territory. But each and every territory deals with its own category of entrepreneurs, and their territorial belonging is in a particular territory. The agency has the following specificity. One department of the center, of My Business Center, which fulfills information services, and the department, the guarantee department, the regional guarantee organization, which provides the guarantees on behalf of the entrepreneurs before the agencies. We have a sufficient information backlog in terms of the state support measures, and when we call this hotline number, we get through to a regional guarantee organization. And given the fact that we have altered some the specificity of our work, and as for the classic work, the entrepreneurs need guaranteed support, and they arrange this communication via a bank. But we have streamlined, friendly relations with lending organizations, with credit organizations. We consult the entrepreneurs, and we take the open source data for these consultations in accordance to product portfolio, which we devise. And this portfolio also has friendly participation of credit organizations, and then they are landed on the preferential programs, such as 1764, the entrepreneurial mortgage on agriculture, to name a few. We are a so-called buffer for them, and we reduce the timelines if the bank approves that these customers are good. They have the endorsed applications. We have decreased the time period for guarantee application consideration, and this practice of the Republic of Bashkortostan is the best one in terms of the management, customer management, and customer support. First, it was at the very beginning that was a life hack, but then you started dealing with professional terms, but most of people are not understanding what it is all about, and they don't have to know it because it's a redundant information. It's our professional milieu. We fight for small businesses, and we would like us to distribute our debts and our obligations. The first step is calling the corresponding organization by phone. The second one is the following. There is no need in delving into this story. I take the obvious of the family and manufacturing company. They do not need it. They have a new task, new machines, new tools, new equipment, shipping equipment. They deal with defense. It's our family company. They have their own goals, and that is why they may address an organization where they can tell that they need 50 millions, and they are able to pay an 11% interest rate or a 10% or 5% interest rate, and it is quite okay. And what they need is clear instructions. That's the perfect pathway for each and every business, and it is important to understand where this entry point is located. How can they think of development, and we should think of the ways they may get these funds under small interest rates, which will enable them to earn funds, and the banks will also have this opportunity to benefit from it. We do not have a clear scheme in this respect, and if we ask others whether it is clear or not, please raise your hands for whom it is called clear. We can see 2 hands raised, and the rest are sitting that they're pondering on them. There is a clear scheme, but there is a problem. This problem is undermined awareness. We have tested it, and we got positive feedback. You may also call the hotline phone number and ask about the sources of financing. What should they ask? They should ask where they can borrow funds in accordance with the preferential program. They will be asked questions. They will be asked what they're dealing with, what their provision is about. Yes, the first question is will be about the tax identification number. In order to this will enable them to realize who they are talking about. Thus, the TIN will let them determine whether these customers are solvent or not, whether these customers are resilient or not, etc. What will be the second point? The second point will, we have already mentioned it automatically. There will be automatic understanding for the preferential program, which will be implemented in this regard. It's about answering the question of filling the defense or filling the working capital, or could you please explain why do we split these groups of interest rates? Because there is a working capital program and the profit programs. If people need working capital, which percentage do they have for filling the working capital, for enhancing it? What's your interest rate in Professors Bank? Participation in preferential funding programs, lending programs is stipulated by the federal level, and credit organizations adhere to that ceiling of percentage, to that threshold. The key rate plus something else, it's 10.5. There's key plus 3, as far as I know. As far as I remember, that's 10.5% for replenishing the working capital, and the period is up to 1 year. Who needs this working capital? The preferential funding program stipulated by the government is 10.5%. It's the key plus 3. It is called 1764. And this key rate plus 3, you have to get through to your bank, because all the large-scale banks are involved in this program, as well as several regional banks. And please name this specific program, and you should ask whether you can get the funds for replenishing your working capital in accordance with this program or not. And if you're able to borrow them, please make inquiries about the actions to be undertaken. The first question will be about provision of guarantees. This will be selected automatically. The opportunity of attracting guarantees, on absence of an opportunity of attracting guarantees, will be selected automatically. We go through to 3 to 4 organizations, and we ask them that we have customers, and we wonder whether they can do it, and we may provide a guarantee up to a certain scope. That's the step-by-step instruction, and now we understand that we're dealing with an SME digital platform. It may be done electronically without calling them by phone. There is also an opportunity. If you are registered there by guarantee, there are two options. The first option is as follows. You have guarantee, warranty provision, and you have options to put forth. And the second one, you have no warranty provision, or you have another loan. In this case, you may benefit from the guarantee of an SME corporation. And it is not free of charge. And you mean this, the original guarantee organizations, and as for the program of core guarantee and SME corporation, let me make a remark. What is the difference between them? Regional guarantee organizations ensures the coverage of up to 70%, up to 20 million rubles. The SME corporation is responsible for up to $1 billion. If there is a guarantee program, they are fused from 1 billion to 70 of them. The higher indicators are pooled. For instance, we're eager to borrow 10 million. So we may get either a warranty worth 50 or 70% in terms of the cost of this guarantee. Talking about the guarantee, the regional guarantee fund, providing the will be from 0.5 to 1.5%, and it depends on their activity and the peg to special economic zones which are present in our company in terms of the warranty and guaranteeing that we have to monitor it. There is also a product called umbrella mechanism, when the bank pays for it instead of the customer. When do banks pay the funds instead of the customers? That's a question for bank representatives. Are you able to develop on the umbrella mechanism? You're not poised to do it. Well, it's present and it is functional. For instance, it's from Bank. We are implementing it actively, but we have got used to the fact in Bashkortostan that we prefer working with provision companies at the regional level directly, because it's our top priority, because it's crystal clear, because it's the customer who pays for it. And as for the umbrella mechanism, it will be you who will pay it, and definitely it will be more beneficial for you to work with regional guaranteeing for organizations and to make funds. Since you are not ready to comment on the umbrella mechanism, we have a homework. We know where we should send this information. We know where we should send the information about the family business. We will save funds in all the areas, including the umbrella mechanism. And now we have drafted a scheme in terms of undertaking the first step and being part of preferential credit concerning the working capital. And as for investment, the program is even better because the interest rate is even more loyal. How can we borrow funds for investment goals? Who is also ready to explain a step-by-step instruction? In our investment loans are emerging in SME corporations. But this SME corporation doesn't lend the funds directly. It lends them also. It's also via banks, and it is lended for 10 years. And the interest rate, as far as I know, is 3.5 for medium-sized business. No, sorry, it is 2 or 1%. And as for small business, it is 3.5%. These funds are beneficial. These credits are high quality. And where should we take these loans, actually?
So you tried to work with this program. So they work with agricultural enterprises, with IT companies, and with hotel businesses. So agricultural, IT, transport, and hotel businesses. That's it. Those for the investment program. But we have representations of such businesses, and the plus of this program is that they can take the loan for 10 years. So I will interrupt you for a little bit. It's an interesting program, and we got the amount, it's 50 million rubles, the amount for the loan. What are the problematic? What are the minuses? What are the problems that we faced? Preferential loans doesn't mean that they will. So the practical example of that. So we analyzed the 63 enterprises. So we try to get the list of clients that are the same that in this loan portfolio, but this program is not that interesting overall because it only works for 3 years, plus the key rate is 2.5%, and then it's just market conditions. And it is limited for only limited businesses. But this program is unique, and the rate is unique as well. Well, it is unique only because you use it for 3 years and then you repay it. Because we are entrepreneurs, and this is the scheme. You take this loan, and then after 3 years, you just repay it. And is there... So you didn't... So there were people who wanted to participate in this program. We got 5 or 6 clients. So now we we will discuss the institute, the Industry Development Fund, that gives loans to industry enterprises. And as far as I know, you also have preferential loans, and the interest rate is 1 or even 2%. And what do we need to do to get money? Thank you for your thank you for the work here. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to representatives of family business from different regions of Russia. I would say that I have a presentation. I can turn it on, but firstly, I will try to talk without it. So, as Industry Development Fund that was founded in 2014, this is the opportunity to invest into projects. And this fund was founded in 2014, and it started supporting enterprises, small and medium-sized businesses and enterprises, as well as big enterprises. But we're not talking about status now, but we're talking about the projects that they develop. We have limits, and we only deal with certain industries. The list is on the website. But you shouldn't, other industries shouldn't be sorry about that. There is a special algorithm that makes this business support helps other businesses to provide workplaces, and the main purpose of that all is preferential loans. So we've recently decided, because of the fact that turnover is bigger now, so we've decided to create support centers in regions. This year, we got the results, and we became the real center. So our loans, our interest rates are 1, and so can you get back to other slide? So we have 4 programs, and we work with the Russian fund. 70% of money gives the Russian fund gives the 70% of money, and we give 30% of money. From 20 to 100 millions, we give to our clients. And recently, I was a moderator on a section, and one of the organizers told us that in some places where there was 50, now it is 20. And the client should spend this money for development, engineering, building, and also and some other agricultural and our colleagues are on the stand now, so if you need advice, you can discuss it with our colleagues there on the stand in details. We work with representative of regions, but I've consulted different regions last year, and now I can I can talk to other representatives of other regions. That's not a problem. But we give loans for a long period, and the rate is the same. For example, we give an interest rate of 1%, and in the regional center, it's 12%. Most of our loans are only 1%. Some interest rates are 5%, but we haven't given one yet. But when companies apply for the loans, we need to analyze and consult them about their projects. We analyze the projects. You cannot just tell us that we need money. We analyze everything. So the major documents that they give us is it's a project, the resume of the project, and also dates. So I will say sorry.
I have to leave you for a while, please. Denise, proceed with the moderation. You are talking about it in a very logical way because we are understanding the gradual algorithms. And please, other speakers, please provide the similar clear instructions. And if you have some questions from the audience, we'll answer them. We'll have to leave some time for answering your questions because many of you are eager to cover some issues. Definitely, you will proceed with that because you don't need me. You need speakers rather than me. And if you allow me to do it, I have to leave you now. Okay, no problem. Yes, proceed with it. Well, we consider these documents concurrently. We do not have to arrive to our place. You have an electronic way to open them in the personal account, and you may get this access to this customer program and upload the documents. We start scrutinizing them in the morning. And what happens to the documents which we received before? We have correspondence related to them. We fulfill work with them. If you have some reclamations, some claims, everything may be settled in accordance with what is reflected in our messaging because we record the time of application, and the Industry Development Fund has performed an analysis, and the applicant takes 90% of the time because it has necessary to prepare them. They don't have any unified team. And today we had one of the directors who is willing to borrow the funds for the 7th time, and this was a small business, and now it's a large company. And he told me that our cooperation helped us. His first project was rather complicated, and he was rather straightforward. He gave personal missions to each and every employee. This work was not streamlined. We haven't even managed to arrange the first one to service for but we have service for the second loan, and we have implemented this format of business-like communication. And the moderator told us in the very beginning that import substitution, this reimbursement shouldn't be our area of responsibility, but our colleagues from the bank fund, the agency of the entrepreneurial support, are guided by the regulatory acts. We realize that it cannot be done, but we perform it. This fund is customer-oriented. Could you please close the door? There's a speech. There's a continuous speech, and it is hard to focus on it. Well, okay. If you are truly interested in it, let me reiterate that we will take it into account. Please look at this slide. Over the past 5 years, we have sustained 111 projects. This sum is rather significant. Over 60% of them are taken by the SMEs. No category matters, be it a small-sized company, a medium-sized company, or a large-sized company. But there is a constraint on the type of activity, especially for the processing industry. This term was elaborated by the Ministry of Industry and Trade, and we have also added some new kinds of activities, but they're also limited, and they also come from the industry. Thus, we have several constraints in this regard. But you may make sure that 111 projects have raised over 40 billion rubles, almost 41 billion rubles to the economy of the Republic. The Industry Development Fund accounts for 16 billion rubles. Our market value is 1,100,000,000 and something. And we are also planning the workplaces. It is 2,838 billion. We're also allocated for that, and we have done it free of charge, and the plant in the production volume is exceeding 23 billion. But we have achieved better results in practical terms, and we have reports. And could you please show it in the next slide? This year we have supported such a lot of projects. The ones which are marked by red, these projects got our assistance in the federal fund thanks to our efforts. As for the green one, these funds belong to the republishing fund. This is our joint program which enabled us to attract them. It's 9.7 billion. And last year, when the year wasn't finalized, we raised 9.5 billion rubles. We have raised 5.6 billion rubles, and in the past we had approximately 4 billion. We adjust our work on an annual basis, but our key goal is to raise funds and to create as many workplaces as we can. The others who deal with another industry may become a partner of our customers, and this also happens because when it comes to our reporting, we set the goal of showing the number of products and services purchased by other market participants in Russia and in Bashkortostan. But this slide shows only the information on the Bashkir customers because we are focusing on the national economy. That's a brief overview. That's how our republic looks like on the map. The colored municipalities contain some supported projects. The circles reflect the number of projects, and the colors signify various industries. We're not going to cover the entire territory of different countries, but we'll do our best. And here we show the rural areas where we have small businesses created from scratch thanks to our support, but then they realized that this may be supported, and that's it. This year, let me highlight that we're not used to supporting providing just the provision of working capital. We provided for investment goals, but last year we elaborated on these programs due to the COVID-19 and sanctions. They pooled the opportunity of investment funding with obtaining funds for working capital, namely raw materials and components. This year, Mikhail Mishustin and the government of the Russian Federation issued the decree number 696 and the granted funds to all the regions. And today, the representative of the Department of the Ministry of Trade and Industry and Trade has mentioned that we have just obtained these funds, and there is a 120 million funds, and we have that's the sum for allocated for grants. I met the Dagestan had 2 weeks ago, but they're not able to provide 50% of them. That's the intensity of work. They have their regional specificity. We discussed them, and I identified their sore spots. But we have many enterprises which suffer from famine, which are our customers of processing industries, to obtain funds and to repay their loans. And Sberbank has streamlined it. Sberbank has provided a large number of loans, as well as Promsvestbank, and the guaranteeing organization is also involved in it because it provides warranties to all the loans. These loans are to be collateralized, they have to be returned, and the banking warranty is maybe preferable, and it enables you to get 1% loan, but there are some other options of equipment, different liquid materials, and different tangible funds. I don't know whether this measure will be prolonged this year or for the next year or not. Many companies face difficulties in the working capital, and that is why the government has decided to do it, and we have streamlined it. We have streamlined a good mechanism of practice, and if we get this assignment, we will implement it as swiftly as we can. We are now establishing the customer base, which we are eager to get, but we are aware of the ways of implementing it. We have developed the standards. All the documents are on our website. We do not have any documents in the small font. It is absolutely transparent, but please be a responsible borrower. Being a customer, you should realize which obligations do you assume. It's not about giving back funds. It's about implementing projects. Please fulfill your plans in terms of manufacturing equipment, creating workplaces, and tax payment. And we trace and monitor it. That's our difference from the banks. The next slide, please. Moreover, I have already mentioned that we do not lend funds for construction because it is the lender, the customer, who should raise these funds. But this year we have tested a new grant test when one company took 50 million rubles for investment, and this loan amounted to approximately 3%. And as for the difference between the market amount at 3%, it is paid by us. It's approximately 5 million. They have already constructed a workshop, and they are now installing equipment there. This company belongs to the furniture cluster. It is a cutting-edge enterprise. These entrepreneurs are interested in various tools which may be obtained via the fund, but we also provide consultations in terms of other development institutes. It is a far-reaching mechanism. I don't think that it will displace the loans, the third-party loans, but sometimes it is necessary to sustain these manufacturers. The next slide, please. This year, namely last year, December 2021, we got the task of creating the following project. The managing company for industrial clusters should be a pilot project. As for industrial clusters, these are the organizations of particular sectors which are a part of a cooperation chain, and they incentivize one another. They guarantee a supply of raw materials, sales to some manufacturers. But it was also found out that there are some niches which have been filled with imported materials or raw materials or equipment, and now it is produced in unfriendly countries, or the restrictions have been imposed. And being leaders of this cluster direction, we are seeking for the ways of filling these niches and incentivizing them. As for the government, the ones which implement these projects, it's necessary to be part of this cluster, and it's necessary to register this cluster. And now the amount applicable is up to 300 million, but it will be 500 million rubles. This subsidy may be obtained by the masterminds, the ones who implement these projects. They have to be registered in the Ministry of Industry and Trade, but it is necessary to invest funds and to protect them, but there are some effective ways of implementing them. I have already mentioned that in the morning session, there was also a session on industrial clusters. It occurred simultaneously with mine. We have already established a furniture cluster where many companies are introduced. We have also created the specialized lending program for the participants, and there are 3-year loans. When we provide these loans for up to 5 years, we just get the interest rate for the third year. We get the lump sum of the loan on year 4 or 5. There is a preferential period, and as for year 2 or 3, we get the lump sum of the loan. The aviation cluster has already been established, or it is about to be established. This had to happen this week. The machine building cluster has also been registered. The registration of the industrial cluster is underway, and we also have a goal for the next year. It is the registration of a light industry cluster. Let me reiterate that this interaction of enterprises which work within the same industry, which are partners, and they do it in various areas, such as the first raw material preparation. They switch to more complex products, and this may entail participation of next participants. It's not of regional significance. Our participants of clusters are all the enterprises of the Russian Federation. If they're eager to comply with particular requirements, we trace that. Here you can see the following slide. It's a brief summary of the results over the past 5 years. Our financial results are as follows. We didn't get the funds of the federal fund, which the finance of the federal fund, which for perform financing directly. We have produced the products worth over 32 billion rubles. We have got 800 million back, and we had over 4 million. That's the funds for joint projects, and the return exceeds the funds invested. The number of workplaces is over 6,000, and it is indicative of partnership relations. And the ones who implement the projects have purchased the products and services worth 19.5 billion rubles. It's the multiplication effect, and other participants are also being incentivized. Please pay attention to this fact. The regions which operate in other conditions may also help you focus on it. Perhaps someone else will need your services in your territory. Based on the results of the performance of our fund, it took the leading positions, the first, third, fifth place. But on the whole, the Republic of Bashkortostan has been implementing this industrial policy. It is at the first place, and the contribution of our fund also matters.
So I gave you really short information, but I'm ready to answer your questions. If needed, we can arrange another meeting. And I invite representative of regions where we consult you on Karl Marx Street. The contact number is on the website. Thank you very much. I would like to ask you about different things. So, anyone in the room, do you have an have you experienced?
Взаимодействие с фондом очень
So,
были озвучены, он бы хотел, скажем так,
what do you think about? Would you like to try to have this subsides from this fund? Yeah. So more people voted. So I invite you all to try and take part in this fund, which is a really advanced organization here in Russia. And I've talked to many other entrepreneurs that got different support from different regions, and different organizations give support and help our businesses. And if you see perspectives for your business, you should contact the fund. So the time is already up, but I would like to give to ask a question.
про финансы.
So this section is about finance, but I would like you to
Какой-то другой
tell us about a unique instrument. Maybe it's a financial instrument, maybe some other instrument that you give for businesses.
классная фишка.
So maybe some kind of a life hack, maybe a practical instrument that allows your bank to say that with the help of this instrument, we communicate with businesses, and that this instrument is unique and other banks do not have such a thing. So we have a great opportunity to do that, to present your instrument. So would you like to do that? So if there are questions, you can visit our stand and ask questions. So, but I have to go. Dear friends, I would love to finish talking about investment because I couldn't answer. I didn't have time to answer, but in Sberbank you can find this investment loan, such investment loans with different conditions. So it can be for small and medium-sized businesses and for other businesses. Sberbank didn't increase the interest rate when our key interest rate became 20%. And we also refinanced our clients, 7,000 clients. And we have a mechanism of decreasing this interest rate. So I would like to tell you, so you can come to me and we will discuss each case individually, and I promise you we will discuss it up till the end. And so talking about non-financial services, I would say that we have a loan potential. Every client of our bank can see its loan potential. They just need to use this mobile app, this interface, and a client can, with the help of this loan, and then get the loan. Talking about non-financial services, you know what happened in April when a lot of software enterprises and other enterprises left Russian market. But here, as a systematic bank and an IT company helped helped companies with the soft, because a lot of softwares left, for example, SAP or Microsoft and other companies that everyone used. Small business, it wasn't a problem for small business because small business counts money, and they do not usually buy license for such software. Big companies, it was a big problem for big companies because they all use different softwares, for example, by SAP, that do ERP systems, that provide ERP systems. And we were so relieved when we stopped using SAP, because it was really strange and the interface was not friendly enough, and we didn't really like it. And we created our own ERP system. We created our own system for documents, and they're way better than such programs that were created in the West. So for clients, for small and medium-sized clients, we believe in. So we have a rich experience for automizing business processes, and we have instruments that help businesses to decrease risks. So I will give you an example. We've been communicating with a client that is dealing with pharmacies.
Ну, фарма,
Фарма, да, да.
понятно.
Ну, то есть, при нашем вопросе клиенту какое количество
We ask him a question: how many clients are
возвращаемости?
the same, are permanent? He said that 80% of those people who live in this region come to my pharmacy and buy products. So we entered his interface, and we showed him how to deal with the analytics in case that a client has market querying. And we get a lot of information with the help of this instrument concerning market,
Профиля клиента,
rivals,
там мужчина, женщина.
and also the statistics is great. And he was really surprised
По нему
when we saw that it's 32%, and he was sure that he has 80% of permanent clients, but he only had 32. That's why we offered him our loyalty program.
своих клиентов есть.
And there are lots of different services, microservices, that we implement in such programs. With the help of that, I guess that we help businesses, and because we understand that we are responsible in front of every business in Russia, and we should, I guess, help digitalize the businesses in Russia. Okay, thank you. Let's listen to Pромсвязьбанк. Talking about Pромсвязьбанk, now I'm gonna talk about financial instruments, because this bank is dealing with financing small and medium-sized businesses. At the moment, everything is digitalized, and we have an instrument that's called no paper or paperless. Our clients can enter the interface, the website, and do different operations with the documents, and also operation with different turnovers. Talking about preferential loans, if this client is appropriate, they will get the preferential loan. Clients that deal on agreement basis,
Но в рамках 44
on small agreement basis, they can get up to 50 million of rubles.
Вот. В целом Промсвязьбанк это
So Pромsvязьbank is all about classical instruments, about loans, about different banking products.
направление. Банк
But talking about this sphere, Pромsvязьbank is really advanced now, and we have different instruments concerning investment loans,
также можем предложить.
and we can offer you different.
Есть ограничения по поводу того, что 3 года
Well, there are some limits. For example, that the interest rate is up to 3 years only, but the rate itself is 2.5 or 3%, which is really, really great. So I will return to the question that we've discussed in the very beginning about steps. So I've worked with entrepreneurs a lot, and I communicate with them. And entrepreneurs, when they talk about preferential program, they think that it's just wasting the government money, the state money. But
и банк, ФПФ, в том числе Фонд развития промышленности.
When it comes to the development of industry, the Industry Development Fund and the regional guarantee organizations, all of them assess their risks. And when they communicate with the bank, with the Industry Development Bank, with the guarantee organization, it is necessary to be powered by the following principle. The person who is communicating with you is interested in granting this preferential loan to you or a warranty in case of a guarantee organization, but it also has some legislative limitations and restrictions, restrictions, and this bank should be perceived as a partner in this communication since it provides support. If you communicate with a third partner face-to-face, you communicate with a real partner, and you shouldn't rely on the fact that this bank will be able to provide this bank. It's rather improper because the limitations, the restrictions are imposed by the central bank, by the penal code, by the central bank, and all these restrictions force the bank to work under a flexible way and to apply a flexible approach to work, but it is not always feasible to grant a loan. You have to communicate tightly with the bank as if it were a partner. I recommend it all to you. All these digital services are high quality, but as for large companies, there are large sums of loans. But there's good point in communicating with your bank. You have to be good partners with your bank. This bank should be your major customers and your suppliers. If you take this bank as a business partner, which is equal to a supplier, this will change your attitude to the bank and vice versa. You will be aware of your constraints and the bank's constraints, and eventually,
Мне еще нравится такое сравнение.
I like the following comparison. I remember it from the working experience in Sberbank. When an entrepreneur applies to a bank, this may be compared with a doctor's appointment. Not all the entrepreneurs understand what they need. For instance, they may need investment funds rather than working funds, working capital, because they try to allocate funds for a tool or a machine using working capital rather than the investment funds. In this case, advisory services are provided by banks without charging that. The agreement may be also structured this way. For instance, the data, the structure of the agreement may seem to be improper, but as a rule, this structure is a salvation for an entrepreneur. It may rescue an entrepreneur. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Now, so we have 2 minutes left. Maybe 1 or 2 questions have arisen. I have a question to bank representative. Sorry, The speaker isn't using the microphone. That is why I can't hear properly. Well, my business used this in terms of interest rate reimbursement. It's 90%. It's 90% of the interest rate. I got the loan. I used the fund services for 2 months. My business used it, and the interest rate was reimbursed. And then they told me that they refused to reimburse my interest rate because it was Sberbank's refusal, since it is a state-owned project. Could you please clarify it? You mean it's a governmental program? Perhaps this program expired. It was not valid any longer. No, it was still valid. It was not just an ordinary loan. It's about a governmental support loan, and the interest rate was 15%. And this also applies to my situation and my business is as follows. They told me that they were reluctant, they were not able to reimburse the interest rates because it was about this governmental support, and they could not finance the governmental support. Perhaps it is necessary for you to apply other tools. Let us discuss it in person as our business in Belgrade. Margarita, could you please dwell upon it after the session, and you will discuss it in person. There's one more question to discuss. And if there are no questions, please. Stop. I entered your website. I used my tax identification number, and I familiarized myself with the measures of governmental support and preferential lending, which are available for my country. I found the joint stock companies, 2 organizations such as preferential leasing of a transport vehicle provided for 12 to 36 months. The subsidy is 10% as a maximum, but it is not more than 500,000 rubles. For instance, I purchased a car for 5 million rubles, and I get a 500,000 rubles subsidy from the bank. No, it's not about the bank. It's about the state governmental programs, and it is Sberbank which performed the aggregation of these governmental programs on the website. You may either call Sberbank, or you may arrive to my business, and you may get a consultation on the program and on the terms, and it's not still available. We have been dealing with Sberbank for a long time. There are 2 organizations. There are settlement accounts. I took a loan, and there was a 13% interest rate, and I asked them to refinance them. And as soon as the bank started reducing the rates, I also got a refusal because they were able to give me a new one under a low interest rate, but they were not ready to refinance it. And I sought assistance at my business, and I got a 3.5% interest rate. That's not, dear colleagues. Let's not have any illusions. It's commercial activity, and our entrepreneurial flair and skills are also part of it. We have to identify the perfect institutes and governmental support measures for fostering our business. And for this reason, we arrange these sessions. We invite speakers, banks, representatives of governmental support business funds, so that you could expand your knowledge. You are aware of your territory, CCIs, where the employees are working, and they are able to advise something useful to you. They're ready to garner support to you. Some unpleasant cases occur. You may take a loan at a particular interest rate, and there's an opportunity to take it at another interest rate, but still it's all about entrepreneurial risks taken by banks. Banks there have their own constraints. You know the rules of this game. And prior to borrowing funds, please get a consultation with the CCI, with my business center, with the same bank prior to taking funds. There are some companies and some employees who may provide you a consultation on support measures, and our colleague has already told you that you may apply to them in order to get this information. You will get the information on the programs which the bank has and which programs are used for interacting with the government, and which will enable you to get that at more preferential terms. Yes, that's evident. we haven't elaborated on refinancing. It's not the first time I hear that the customers switch to other banks because it is our sore spot. Thank you for voicing that. I would like to express my gratitude for the participation in this session and wish you raising good funds at a low interest rate. Thank you.
на длительный срок.
Yes, and for a long time as well.